CreepyCorner stories.
Some stories don't come from books. They come from deleted posts, from private messages, from corners of the internet most people never see. Tonight's stories were never meant to be shared, but once you hear them, you'll understand why they couldn't stay hidden. So sit back, listen carefully. You've just stepped into CreepyCorner stories. And before we continue, most people click away. If you didn't, subscribe. Leave a like so these stories don't disappear. And if you want to go a little deeper, join the channel. It honestly means the world to me. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to my amazing creepers at Tigger1971, at Dark Impulse 85, and at C Marie 724. Thank you for being incredible members, and a special shout out to at Tigger1971 for joining recently. If you have a story idea, feel free to leave it down in the comments. I will check them out, and let's dive in. I was inside a dark web community for abandoned places. I said, I'm going to visit a town named Whistler, and the whole chat was panicking. I didn't believe them until I heard my own whistle echo back. I've been sitting here for 2 hours, staring at the same paragraph. My monitors dimmed twice, the Spotify autoplay ran out, and my third cup of coffee is cold enough to qualify as soup. I've rewritten this intro 5 times. Not because I want it to be perfect. Nah, that ship sailed somewhere around 1:30 a.m. But because I can't decide if telling this story is even a good idea. I keep checking over my shoulder. No reason. Lights are on. Doors locked. But there's this weird pressure. Like when you're alone in a room and your brain suddenly decides to crank the paranoia to 11. I've had this footage, this account, these screenshots for months, and every time I go to talk about it, something in me says, not yet. Tonight though, something's different. I got this DM on a throwaway Reddit account. No message, no username, just a link to a sound file. I opened it. It was me, whistling. So yeah, I guess now's the time. Let me tell you how I got there. This is part 1. A few months back, I got way too into urban exploration YouTube. It started innocent enough. Those cinematic rooftop shots over abandoned malls, hazy drone footage through crumbling amusement parks, the kind of stuff you scroll past at 2 a.m. thinking, damn, I'd totally go there. I even bought a cheap GoPro knockoff. Told myself I was gonna find some cool abandoned gas station or broken down diner and make my own video. But that wasn't enough. See, it's like any rabbit hole. The more I watched, the more I wanted. Not just the pretty ruins. I wanted danger, places with stories. And that's when I ended up on a subreddit that doesn't exist anymore. Not in the normal web, at least. It was called r/Forgotten Maps, except you couldn't find it through search. It was invite only and buried deep. A guy in the comments of some Urbex thread linked it through a burner pastebin. Said something like, real explorers know where not to go. At first glance, the sub was low-key. Thread titles like, we found the school with no doors. Don't go back to Carbon Ridge. Sound mirrors in eastern Ukraine. Too many. But one post stood out. Whistler is not a town. That was it. No body text, no link. Just that. I scrolled past it the first time, assuming it was another clickbait scare tactic. But the replies were insane. People just panicking. One comment just said, delete this. Another was literally a block of keyboard spam. like someone had a seizure mid-sentence. I clicked the user's profile. Account gone. I didn't think much of it then. Just figured it was a weird joke. Creepypasta bait. But then someone in the thread mentioned a deeper server. Not Discord, not Telegram. Something called Blackwire. I won't explain how I got in. It took days. Burner emails, Tor routing, PGP keys I barely understood. It felt like I was trying to join a cult, not a group chat. But I made it in. Blackwire looked like a dead IRC channel. Black background, green font. No usernames, just strings of numbers. Everyone talking in code. Places referenced by emoji. Deer is hot again. Avoid grave until fog season ends. Shit like that. I lurked for about a week, just reading, slowly piecing together which emoji meant what. I figured out meant underground tunnels. Horse was for decayed amusement parks. And tooth. Well, I never figured that one out. Nobody who posted tooth ever replied to anything after. One night, this was maybe 3:40 a.m., I finally posted. I typed, "Anyone been to Whistler?" And the whole chat just froze. I mean it. 0 replies. For like 2 full minutes. Then the messages started. Not public. DMs. One said, "Don't." Another, "Where did you hear that name?" Another, "This isn't a game. Leave." I replied to one of them. Just said, "I'm just trying to explore. Heard it was cool." No response. But then, a minute later, the main chat started again. But it wasn't normal talk. It was like a flood. Just number strings. GPS coordinates. But wrong. One was in the middle of the ocean. Another was inside an IKEA. Another was just 666. Repeated over and over. It felt like they were trying to drown me out. But one coordinate stood out. It was local. Like, within driving distance. I reverse looked it. It pointed to an old logging road off a highway exit I'd taken a dozen times. Google Maps showed a forest. No name. But zoom in close, and you could see faint roads. Almost like a grid. Almost like a town. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would you go? But you've never had something stare at you like that coordinate did. It felt personal, like it was daring me. So I packed my camera, my flashlight, a protein bar, and left. I didn't tell anyone, just said I was going for a solo hike. I hit the road around 5 p.m., right as the sun was bleeding orange over the hills. By the time I turned off the main highway, my phone had 0 signal. The road was a mess. Gravel and dirt, trees clawing over the windshield. I drove maybe 2 miles before my tires couldn't take it anymore, and I pulled off to walk. The air was thick, not just humid, like pregnant, like the woods were holding their breath. I followed the GPS marker on my offline map. Every so often, I'd see something weird. A mailbox, just standing there. No house, no path, just a rusted box in the middle of the brush. Then came the signs. Not warning signs, I mean literal street signs, lying flat in the dirt. One said Marion, another 4th Street, bent, covered in moss, but still there, like they'd been ripped out of a neighborhood that no longer existed. I kept walking. The sun had dropped. Bugs were screaming. My flashlight barely cut through the trees now. Then I heard it. Not a scream. Not an animal. It was a whistle. Low. Human. Familiar. I froze. Shined my light everywhere. Nothing. And then I heard it again. The same whistle. But this time, it was mimicking the exact one I'd done on instinct 20 minutes earlier to test the echo. Same pattern. Same pitch. It whistled me back. I haven't slept in 2 nights. Not because of nightmares. I wish it were that. I wish I could just write this off as a hallucination or a panic attack or whatever bullshit word therapists use to plug holes in your memory. But I didn't imagine it. I've got mud on my shoes that doesn't match anything around here. I've got scratches on my arms that look too precise. And something keeps knocking on my door at 3:13 a.m. Same knock. Every night. 3 slow taps. Then silence. And I know exactly what it means. After I heard the whistle echo back, my whistle, I should have turned around. I really should have. But I didn't. Because right after the whistle, something answered. Not with a voice. Not in words. Just a sound. It was this. Wet dragging, like something heavy being pulled across gravel. Slow, but steady. Crunch. Pull. Crunch. Pull. I flicked my flashlight toward the noise, and there was nothing there. No reflection. No eyes. But the sound didn't stop. It just got quieter, like it was backing away into the trees, but not running. Just making space. Luring me in. I don't know how long I'd stood there. Maybe a minute. Maybe 10. But my brain split in two. One half screaming to leave. The other whispering, what if there's something in there no one's ever seen? What if you're the first? So yeah, I followed the sound. The woods eventually thinned out. And then I saw it. A clearing. And in the center of that clearing, a road. A fucking paved road. Cracked, but real. With faded lane lines. On either side were the rotted skeletons of houses. Just standing there. No windows. Doors off the hinges. Shingles peeled like sunburned skin. Whole buildings sagging inward like they were breathing slow, heavy breaths. The first thing I noticed was how wrong the air smelled. You ever open a freezer that's been unplugged for weeks? That dense, metallic rot that punches your sinuses and coats your tongue. It was like that, but hotter. Like something had been cooking underground for years and finally clawed its way up. I kept walking. I passed a rusted swing set with chains that trembled like they'd just been pushed. A mailbox stuffed with dead birds. A pickup truck with handprints streaked across the inside of the windshield. From the inside, smears, like someone tried to wipe something off or claw their way out. I reached what used to be the town square. I know that's what it was because there was a half-collapsed gazebo in the middle, and around it were the buildings you'd expect. A church, a post office, a diner with shattered glass like jagged teeth. And that's when my phone buzzed. No signal, but I had a notification, one I hadn't seen before. App name, Crowsight. It wasn't something I'd installed, not even something you could find in the App Store. Black icon, white eye. I tapped it, and it opened my front camera, except it wasn't my face. It was the inside of a room. Dirty yellow wallpaper, red carpet stained black in patches, a chair facing the camera, empty, just a static image. I tapped to close it, but it didn't respond, just stayed open. I hit the lock button, screen stayed lit. I even pulled the battery, phone still on. Then came the second notification. Seats taken. The camera glitched, and when it came back, someone was in the chair. I'm not kidding. The same room, same angle, but now there was something sitting there. Pale, lanky, almost skeletal. Long arms, no face, not featureless, just skin where the face should be. No eyes, no mouth, just smooth, stretched skin and little holes where it looked like breath was leaking through. It turned toward me, and my flashlight died. I mean it. No flicker, no warning, just gone. Pitch black. I scrambled to get my phone flashlight on. screen still frozen on that nightmare webcam feed. I shook it, smacked it, screamed at it. Nothing. Then the whistle came again, right behind me, closer. It didn't echo this time. It was dry, thin, like someone had lips that weren't meant for sound, but were trying anyway. I turned and ran. Not smart. I tripped immediately, fell face first into a puddle. Something soft and soggy underneath me. Felt like clothes. Or meat. I didn't look. Just rolled, got up, and kept running. The buildings blurred past. I could hear doors slamming open behind me. Not one or two. Dozens. Then I heard them walking. No, not walking. Clicking. Like high heels. Or claws. Hundreds of them. Moving in sync. Not fast. Not chasing. Just following. Like they didn't need to run. Like they knew I wouldn't make it out. I made it to the gazebo and ducked under it. Don't ask me why. I wasn't thinking. I was just hiding. Knees in the dirt. Trying not to breathe. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Something was crouched beside me. I didn't see it. I felt it. The heat. The breath. The low rattling exhale of something that shouldn't be alive but still was. Then I heard a voice. No. Voices. All around me. Layered. Male, female, children, elderly, speaking in unison. You came for Whistler. So whistle. I clamped my mouth shut. They whispered again. Whistle. I shook my head, teeth chattering, hands over my lips. Then something grabbed my ankle. Cold. Wet. Fingers too long. I kicked, screamed, bolted from the gazebo, and sprinted for the woods. Branches tore my shirt. Something sliced my calf. But I didn't stop. I ran until I saw the gravel road. I ran until I saw my car. I dove in, slammed the door, locked it, turned the key. Nothing. Dead. I looked up. Standing in front of the car was a man, wearing a sheriff's uniform, but wrong. Outdated. Patch said, Whistler County. His mouth wasn't moving, but I could hear him inside my skull. You whistled first. You invited them. Then he smiled. His teeth were too many. Too thin, like fish bones jammed into pink gums. He tapped the hood once, and vanished. The car started on its own. I didn't ask questions. I drove. I didn't even realize I'd pissed myself until I hit pavement again, and the seat felt warm and wet. I made it home around 4 a.m. Phone still stuck on that camera feed. The chair was empty again, but the red stains on the carpet were larger now, and they were wet. That was 3 nights ago. Since then, I've heard them. Every night at 3:13. 3 knocks. Always the same. I haven't whistled. I won't. But I think they're getting closer. I checked my GPS history. That town. Whistler doesn't exist. There's no record, no coordinates, no satellite view. But I found a new app this morning. One I didn't install. Crowsight. Same icon. Same eye. I opened it. The room's still empty, but the walls are closer now. And this time, I think the chair is facing me. I didn't plan to keep going after that night. I told myself the story ended the moment I locked my door, washed the mud off my hands, and sat on the floor until the sun came up. I even drafted a post explaining everything, kept it factual, calm, rational, deleted it before hitting submit. Because once you put something like this into the world, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And some things want witnesses. What changed my mind was the sound, not the knocking. I'd almost started to expect that, like a sick ritual. 3 taps at 3:13, always the same rhythm, no matter where I slept in the apartment. Bedroom, couch, bathroom with the lights on. It always came from the front door. No, this was different. This was inside. The morning after the 3rd knock, I noticed my apartment felt rearranged, not messy, just wrong, like when someone shifts furniture a few inches and your brain keeps tripping over it. The hallway felt longer. The bathroom mirror showed too much wall behind me. My bedroom door creaked, even though I hadn't touched it. I checked my phone first thing. Battery at 100%. I never charge it overnight. Crowsight was still there. No notifications this time. I opened it anyway. The room on screen had changed again. The wallpaper was peeling now, curling away from the walls like dead skin. The carpet stains had spread in branching patterns, like veins, and on the back wall, someone had carved tally marks, hundreds of them, some scratch deep, some faint, all uneven, like different hands, different strengths. I zoomed in. Next to one cluster, there was writing, shaky, almost childlike. He whistles when he's hungry. I slammed the app shut and deleted it, or at least I tried. It reappeared instantly. Same spot, same icon, same stupid white eye staring back at me. That's when I heard the breathing, soft, slow, right behind my left ear. I spun around so fast I got dizzy. Nothing. Apartment empty. Windows locked. Door still bolted. But the air felt occupied, like someone had just stood up from a chair you didn't know was there. I didn't go to work that day, or the next. I ignored texts, let calls ring out. I sat on my bed, scrolling through old screenshots from Blackwire. I needed to know what Whistler was, or who. Most of the old messages were gone, accounts wiped, threads blank, but one DM chain remained, buried deep, from an account called 000-whistle-000. I don't remember opening it before. The first message was time-stamped before I'd even joined Blackwire. If you read this, it's already heard you. The next message came seconds later. We built Whistler to contain it. Then dozens after that. Walls of text, logs, transcripts, descriptions of experiments that read like a mix between urban planning notes and psychological torture manuals. They talked about sound, about mimicry, about a presence that couldn't create anything new, only repeat what it was given. Voices, movements, places. Whistler wasn't a town. It was a recording, a live one. They'd built a grid of buildings, roads, signs, all designed to resonate sound in specific ways. Wind tunnels between houses, hollow foundations, pipes under the streets that carried echoes for miles. They'd populated it with people at first, volunteers, then prisoners, then whoever they could get. The thing learned them, learned how they walked, how they spoke, how they died, and once it learned enough, it didn't need them anymore. The last message in the chain was short. If someone hears their own sound returned, it's marked. I felt something drip onto my hand. I looked up. From the ceiling above my bed, a dark stain had appeared. Slow, spreading, thick, not water. It pulsed once. Then I heard the whistling again. Not from outside, from the bathroom. Same tune I'd absent-mindedly done weeks ago. Same stupid, off-key trill. I crept toward the door, heart hammering so hard my vision tunneled. The bathroom light flicked on by itself. The mirror was fogged, and written in the condensation, in neat little strokes, was my name. Behind me, the floor creaked. I turned. Something was standing in my bedroom doorway. It looked like me at first glance. Same height, same build, same clothes I'd worn the day before. But the face was wrong. Features slightly misaligned. Eyes blinking out of sync. Mouth opening a second too late when it smiled. It tilted its head and whistled. Perfectly. I screamed and threw my phone at it. The screen shattered against its chest, and the thing recoiled like I'd burned it. Its mouth opened wider than it should have been able to, skin tearing at the corners, and for just a second I saw what was inside. Not teeth, wind, like a tunnel straight through its skull. It backed away into the hallway, movements jerky, limbs bending at angles that made my stomach flip. As it retreated, the walls stretched with it, the hallway elongated, doors multiplying, all leading somewhere deeper, somewhere familiar. I slammed my bedroom door and locked it, pressed my back against it, sobbing. The whistling continued on the other side, softer now, mocking, patient. Then my phone buzzed on the floor. Screen cracked, still working. A new notification from Crowsight. "You're doing great." Most people opened the door. The camera feed was back. The room was almost unrecognizable now. The chair was gone. In its place was a bed. My bed. And on it, something was lying under the sheets, breathing. The camera angle shifted slightly, as if whoever was holding it had just sat down. I don't know how long I stayed locked in that room. Hours, maybe days. At some point the whistling stopped. The hallway went quiet. The stain on the ceiling dried into a crusty black bloom. Eventually, hunger drove me out. The apartment looked normal again. Too normal. Like a set reset between scenes. No sign of damage. No footprints. No smell. But when I checked the front door, there were 3 fresh scratch marks beside the handle, and carved into the wood, shallow but deliberate, were the words, "Practice." I haven't slept since, because every time I close my eyes, I hear it testing new sounds, new voices, new versions of me, and I'm starting to realize something that makes my chest feel hollow. It doesn't want me dead. It wants me accurate. You ever see your name trending and feel your blood go cold? I did. It was 3 nights after the mirror. I was holed up in a shithole motel 40 miles out, curtains duct taped shut, lights off, laptop running on 2%, with the screen brightness dimmed all the way down. I hadn't touched social media in a week. Not since the thing in my hallway started repeating phrases I hadn't said out loud. I figured going off-grid would starve it, or confuse it. I was wrong, because my name, my full legal name, was on Twitter, trending. The top tweet was a video, no caption, just my face, but not my face. Not really. The video showed me standing at a bus stop in broad daylight, smiling, laughing, wearing the same hoodie I'd lost in the woods outside Whistler, same tear in the collar, same bloodstain on the sleeve. I was talking to someone just off screen, couldn't hear the words, just static, and then I turned, looked straight into the camera, and whistled. That same fucking tune. The one I'd whistled in the woods. The comments were blowing up. Anyone else getting major uncanny valley vibes? This is AI generated, right? Please tell me it is. Why is he blinking like that? Wait, is this the guy who posted that creepypasta about Whistler? It spread fast. Faster than anything I'd ever posted. My inbox flooded. Old friends, exes, a teacher I hadn't seen in years, all asking if I was okay, if I was doing a performance piece, if I was still in control. That last one fucked me up more than it should have, because I wasn't. Not anymore. I pulled the curtains back a crack. The parking lot was empty, except for a single woman sitting on the curb, facing away from me, just sitting there, perfectly still. Hair slick with rain that hadn't fallen, skin too pale, hands twitching like she was winding up to do something but hadn't decided what. She stood, turned, and from 40 feet away, I saw my own eyes on her face. Not metaphorically. Not. She reminded me of me. They were my literal eyes. Same sclera spot in the left. Same weird iris freckle I'd always hated. She stared through the glass. Didn't blink. Then she snapped her own neck sideways with a sickening crack. Not enough to die. Just enough to hang crooked. And then she started walking toward my door. Backwards. I didn't open it. I didn't move. I just listened to her feet slide across the wet pavement. She stopped on the other side of the door. Knocked once. Then again. Then a third time. 3:13 a.m. like clockwork. Then silence. No footsteps away. No breathing. I waited till dawn to check. No one was there. But on the peephole, smeared in something grey and chunky, was a single word. Merge. I left that motel. Started walking. Didn't even grab my bag. I hitchhiked. Stole rides. Hopped into the back of moving delivery trucks like some cartoon fugitive. My only rule, don't stay still. If it's tracking you through sounds, through mimicry, then standing still gives it more time to build. But wherever I went, it followed. Not just in people, in places. I stopped at a gas station in Nebraska. Midday, bright sky, radio playing classic rock inside. When I opened the freezer to grab a drink, the static started. Not on the speakers, inside the freezer. Buried beneath the Mountain Dews and Red Bulls, a portable cassette recorder was running, spinning, repeating one sentence in my voice, over and over. Don't let them learn your walk. Don't let them learn your walk. Don't let them learn your... I left the drink. Didn't even shut the door behind me. I started getting emails. From no sender, no subject. All they contained was audio clips. Every one of them was a variation of a conversation I'd had in private, sometimes years ago, with my mum, with a girl I ghosted in college, with a stranger I'd once told a secret on a Greyhound bus just to feel something. Every clip ended the same way, with me laughing, then the laugh reversed, like a tape spooling backward, then silence, and then a different voice trying to imitate it. Badly, like a child learning how to speak by watching a dying animal twitch, and they were getting better. Each clip, closer, more precise, until one finally nailed it. Perfect, indistinguishable from my real voice, except it said one thing I never said. Let me back in. I started noticing copycats online, accounts posting Whistler references. I heard my own whistle. He lives in the static. Street signs in my dreams. Most were trolls, kids chasing clout. But a few knew details I hadn't shared. One user posted a photo of the inside of the gazebo. Same warped wood, same scorch marks, but in their picture, there were bones in the corner. Not human. Birds. Hundreds of them. Beaks broken open. Eyes missing. Like something plucked them out from inside. Another user posted a sound file. This played from my TV at 4 a.m. I listened. It was my breathing. I don't mean a breath. I mean my pattern. My wheeze. My stutter inhale when I'm nervous. Perfectly looped like a sleep recording. The comments. He's teaching them how to be real. Whistler was never a place. It's rehearsal. Once they get your walk, you're done. But the worst one, the one that made me puke, was a live stream titled Whistler IRL Feed. I clicked it, and it was me. Not metaphorical. Me. Sitting in the red carpet room from Crow Sight. Only it wasn't a static feed anymore. It was moving. Real time. The me on screen was smiling, tapping a tune on the floor with bare feet. I tried to close the stream. My laptop wouldn't shut. The browser was frozen. Then the on-screen me looked up, made eye contact with the webcam, and said in my exact voice. We just need your final scream. I smashed the laptop. Didn't matter. The sound kept playing from the speakers, from the walls, from inside the vents. That voice, mine, rehearsing different screams, short, long, guttural, panicked, like it was auditioning them. I fled again, and now, wherever I go, I hear footsteps that match mine, echoes that arrive before I make a sound, my voice on strangers' lips, and this ticking, always in my left ear, like someone winding up a music box. I think I know what it's building toward. It's not just copying me, it's replacing me. And worse, I think I'm not the first. I think I'm the lost original. Everyone else. I'm writing this on a borrowed laptop in a place I can't name, because names have weight now. I learned that the hard way. If you give something a name, it learns how to answer to it. If you say it enough times, it learns how to be it. So I won't tell you where I am. I'll just tell you what I finally understood. It didn't replace people all at once. That was the lie I kept telling myself. That it snatched you, copied you, and shoved you into some dark corner of reality, like a corrupted save file. That there was a clean before and after. There wasn't. Replacement was incremental, like rot. I figured this out when I finally met someone who had survived Whistler longer than I had. He didn't contact me online. He didn't DM me or email or comment. He found me in person, which alone should tell you how deep this goes. I was in a 24-hour laundromat outside a city I'd never been to before, sitting on a plastic chair that vibrated every time a dryer thumped. I hadn't slept in 48 hours. I was watching my reflection in the glass like it might blink without me. He sat down next to me without asking. Late 50s, gray beard, eyes too alert for someone who smelled like cheap detergent and old rain. He didn't look at me when he spoke. "You hear footsteps when you stop walking," he said. Not a question. I stood up so fast, my chair fell over. Every muscle screamed to run. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was weak, but desperate. "Easy," he said. "If it wanted you right now, you wouldn't be here." That sentence still makes my skin crawl. His name, what he used to answer to, was Martin. He'd been a sound engineer in the 90s, field recordings, natural acoustics, old towns, abandoned structures. He went looking for Whistler before it had a name, before it had rules. Back then, it didn't copy faces, it copied spaces. Martin told me the earliest reports weren't about people vanishing. They were about buildings that didn't echo right anymore. Churches where prayers came back wrong. Tunnels where footsteps arrived out of order. Rooms where your own breathing sounded anticipatory. They thought it was geological, he said, finally looking at me. A fault, a resonance pocket, something explainable. He laughed. Dry, broken. Then someone whistled. They realized too late that sound wasn't just how it communicated. Sound was how it ate. Here's the part that's going to make you sick. It doesn't consume you whole. It samples. A laugh here, a step there, a phrase you repeat when you're nervous. It catalogs you in pieces, spreads you across itself like a pattern. And the more you hear it repeat you back, the more you cooperate. You correct it. You flinch when it gets something wrong. You think, no, that's not how I sound. You think, that's not how I walk. And in thinking that, you give it the missing data. That's why it lets people go. That's why survivors exist. Because survivors finish the work. Martin showed me his proof. He pulled out an old handheld recorder, analog, no wireless, no smart anything. He pressed play. At first it was just static. Then a voice emerged. Not his. Mine, but younger. From years ago. Telling a story I'd forgotten I ever told. I stared at him, shaking. I never met you before. I know, he said quietly. That recording is from 2006. I collected it from a man in Nevada who swore it came from his walls. He leaned closer. You've been leaking for a long time. That's when I realized the timeline didn't matter. Once Whistler learns you, it doesn't care when it uses you. I asked him the question I'd been avoiding since the woods. How do you stop it? Martin didn't answer right away. He rewound the tape, played another clip. This one was different. No static, no distortion, just a clean, steady sound. Footsteps, walking in sync with his. He turned the recorder off. You don't, he said. You only decide who finishes you. That night, I finally understood the live stream. Why the version of me in that room wasn't screaming yet. Why it was practicing. Whistler doesn't want your death. It wants your ending. Something authentic enough that no one questions the copy. That's what the scream is for. That's the last checksum. Martin killed himself 2 weeks later. Not dramatically. No note. No spectacle. He walked into the ocean at night with rocks in his pockets and his recorder sealed in plastic. They found the recorder. The last file on it wasn't waves. It was him walking, then stopping, then another set of footsteps, continuing without him. After that, things accelerated. People I recognized stopped recognizing me. My reflection lagged. Videos surfaced of me, in places I'd never been, saying things I'd never say, but saying them perfectly. Authorities reached out. Wellness checks, mental health outreach, all the right words. One agent sat across from me and said, "We believe you may be experiencing identity dissociation." And behind his eyes, I saw something listening, learning. Here's the part no one else has put together yet. Whistler doesn't replace everyone. It replaces enough. Once there are more copies than originals, the echoes outnumber the source. Reality starts referencing itself. You don't need to hide anymore if the world sounds like you. That's what the community panic was about. Not fear. Math. So why am I still here? Because I did something unforgivable. I went back. Not to the town, to the sound. I found a place so loud, so chaotic, so violently inconsistent that it couldn't isolate me. A place where no single voice mattered. And I screamed. Not into Whistler. Into everything else. I shattered my own pattern. I ruined my cadence. Changed my walk. Bit my tongue until my speech slurred. Burned my fingerprints. Learned to breathe wrong. I became inaccurate. And it hates that. It still follows. Still practices. But it can't finish me. Not yet. If you're listening to this and you've ever heard your own voice come back wrong, if you've ever noticed your reflection anticipating you, if you've ever whistled without realizing you were alone, stop. Don't correct it. Don't listen. And whatever you do, don't give it a clean ending, because somewhere out there, something is waiting to wear you, and it's almost ready. I bought a card gaming machine from the dark web. One game kept predicting things that latter happened to me. I'm not even sure why I'm recording this tonight. I've opened this mic like 4 different times in the past hour and closed it again. The cursor just blinking at me like it's judging me or something. It's almost 3 a.m. My 3rd Red Bull is warm now, There's a half-eaten bag of Takis next to my mouse pad, and I just spent the last 45 minutes doom-scrolling Reddit, trying to convince myself not to post this. I even stared at my inbox, like maybe one of those emails I've been avoiding would magically say, "Hey, forget that shit that happened to you. You're good now." But no, I haven't slept in 2 nights. Every sound outside makes me jump. I swear the light on my webcam blinked earlier, even though it was unplugged. The thing is, once I start telling the story, there's no way to make it sound normal. No way to tell it without sounding like I completely lost it. But whatever. If I don't get it out, I'm gonna go insane. So screw it. Here's how it started. Part 1. Just one game. I bought an arcade cabinet off the dark web. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Trust me, I know. It wasn't some impulse buy either. Not at first. I'm not the type to hang out in onion forums or browse sketchy marketplaces. I've never ordered weird pills or fake passports or whatever else those places are used for. But I work in IT, boring corporate stuff, mostly. And a couple months back, one of our clients had a major ransomware breach, like nuclear bad. They were panicking, the kind of thing that gets execs fired. So I had to dig deeper than I usually do to track the source. And that meant wading through some nasty parts of the internet. I found forums that don't show up on Google, threads written in broken English, usernames that were just strings of numbers, posts that got deleted minutes after going up. But buried in one of those threads, there was a comment, like just 4 words long. Try cabinet.exe for profit. No replies, no upvotes, nothing else. Just sitting there. The account had been deleted. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it did. A few days later, I started poking around darknet marketplaces out of curiosity. Not to buy anything, just looking. You get numb to the insanity pretty quick. Guns, drugs, human teeth. A guy selling jars of his own spit. But then I found it. The listing was under Retro Prophecy, fully functional upright arcade cabinet. The thumbnail was low res, almost like it had been taken with a flip phone. Black cabinet, red trim, no visible screen, just the word profit printed across the top in weird, jagged lettering. The description was short and unsettling. 1 player at a time. Coin locked start. No refunds. Predicts only what must come. Shipping included. Price was 0.8 BTC. Around 25 grand at the time. Obviously, I wasn't going to drop that kind of money, but I saved the listing. I even showed it to one of my coworkers, just for laughs. He told me I was insane for even browsing that stuff, that I was gonna get flagged by the NSA. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that forward post. Try cabinet.exe for profit. Like it was a command, like it was meant for me. The listing disappeared the next morning. Gone. Not sold, not delisted, just vanished. I told myself that was the end of it. A fluke. Probably a scam anyway. But 2 weeks later, I got a USB stick in the mail. No return address. Padded envelope. Stick was bright red. Had cabinet written on it in Sharpie. I should have thrown it out. Instead, I booted it in a sandbox environment on an old laptop. Total air gap, just in case. The drive had 1 file on it. Cabinet.exe. The icon was the Profit Arcade logo. When I opened it, it was just a pixelated mock-up of the arcade cabinet. Like a game preview or emulation. It let you play for maybe 15 seconds before the screen would glitch out and freeze. Every time I tried to relaunch it, it'd show a new message before crashing. The first one said, She left, which was weird, but it didn't mean anything. The second time, car battery dies Friday. Then, don't trust caller ID. Then it wouldn't open at all. I didn't think much of it until Friday. That morning, my girlfriend, well, ex now, packed a bag and walked out. No warning. Just said she couldn't deal with me being obsessed with stupid hacker shit. She was crying, but it looked more like fear than sadness. A few hours later, I went out to grab coffee and my car wouldn't start. Battery was toast. I had it replaced the week before. Then that night, I got a call from my mom. Or so I thought. I answered, but the voice on the other end was robotic and wrong, like it was trying to mimic her, but got the cadence off. It said, 1 credit left. I hung up and immediately called her back, the real her. She hadn't called me all day. At that point, I should have ditched everything, wiped the laptop, trashed the USB, changed my name, burned my clothes, whatever. But I didn't, because when I checked the USB again, something had changed. The emulator was gone. Now it had a new file, just called Order Fulfilled, Delivery Incoming, and below that, a tracking number. I didn't sleep after that. Not in the dramatic way people say it, either. I mean, I laid there, eyes closed, body heavy, brain buzzing like a fridge that won't shut up. Every time I drifted, my phone would vibrate, even though nothing came through. Phantom notifications. My heart would kick, and I'd sit back up, convinced I missed something important. Outside, the rain kept tapping the window in uneven bursts, like someone testing the glass with their fingernails. By morning, the tracking number was active. The courier site didn't have a logo I recognized. No FedEx, no UPS, no DHL. Just a blank white page with black text and a progress bar that crept forward every time I refreshed it. The origin said, Unknown Hub. Destination was my full address, apartment number included. That detail made my stomach turn more than it should have. I hadn't typed my address anywhere. The delivery estimate said 48 hours. I called in sick to work, lied without even thinking about it. My boss didn't push, probably figured I was still messed up from the breakup. I spent the day doing nothing productive. I unplugged my webcam, put tape over my laptop camera, reset my router twice. Every time I tried to distract myself with YouTube or TikTok, my feed felt off, like the algorithm had shifted just a little too precisely. Every third video was about retro games. Every fifth was about dark web myths. One ad showed an arcade cabinet in the background, slightly out of focus. That night, my group chat blew up. A friend sent a photo from a bar downtown. Neon lights, drinks lined up, smiling faces. He tagged me with, "Bro vanished LOL." I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another. Before I could send anything, my phone buzzed with a DM from an account I didn't follow. No profile picture. Username was just a string of symbols. The message said, "Coin not yet inserted." I blocked the account. Immediately felt stupid for thinking that mattered. The next morning, the progress bar jumped forward by a huge chunk. Status updated to out for delivery. That's when the knocking started. Not loud, not aggressive, just patient. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks again. I froze on my couch, phone in my hand, watching the peephole camera feed on my screen. The hallway outside my apartment was empty. No delivery guy, no box, just fluorescent lights buzzing and the carpet stain by the elevator. The knocks came again, this time from inside my apartment, from the bedroom. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was in the hallway, staring at my closed bedroom door. My hands were shaking so bad, I had to press them against my thighs to steady myself. The knocking continued, slow and deliberate, like someone drumming on a desk while thinking. I opened the door. Nothing. No one. No marks. No explanation. My phone buzzed. The tracking page updated. Delivered. The box was in my living room. It was big. Way bigger than I expected. Wrapped in thick black plastic, reinforced with wooden slats, like it had survived a war zone. No labels, no stamps, no sender. Just a small metal slot on the front. A coin slot. I didn't touch it for an hour. Maybe 2. I sat across from it like it was an animal that might lunge if I moved too fast. Eventually, curiosity won. Or maybe something else. I peeled back the plastic. The cabinet was pristine, not dusty, not scratched. The screen was dark, reflecting my face back at me in a way that made me look pale and hollow-eyed. Above it, the word profit stared down, sharper in person, the letters almost vibrating if I looked at them too long. The coin slot glowed faint red. I checked the back. No power cable, no ports, no ventilation, just smooth black metal. The screen flickered on by itself. Text appeared. Insert coin. I laughed. Out loud. A sharp, ugly sound. "You've got to be kidding me," I said, like the thing could hear me. My phone buzzed again. A notification from my bank. A charge. $1. Unknown vendor. Before I could react, something clinked against the floor. A coin rolled out of the slot at the bottom of the cabinet. It was warm when I picked it up. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't any currency I recognized. No country. No date. Just a symbol etched into it. The same jagged logo from the emulator. I didn't want to play. I swear I didn't. But my hand moved anyway. The coin slid into the slot with a soft, satisfied click. The screen came alive. No intro. No music. Just a grainy first-person view of a familiar room. My room. The camera angle was wrong. Too high, slightly tilted, like it was mounted in a corner near the ceiling. I could see my couch, the cabinet, myself, standing there, frozen, holding the coin slot. On screen, a timer started counting down from 3 o'clock. Text appeared at the bottom. Watch carefully. On screen, I watched myself turn toward the bedroom. In real life, I hadn't moved. On screen, I walked down the hallway. The timer ticked. On screen, I opened the bedroom door. I dropped the coin. The screen zoomed in, past the doorway, to the far corner of the bedroom, the one shadow that never quite went away at night. The darkness there shifted, pulsing like something breathing. Text flashed. "You missed it." The screen went black. Behind me, in the bedroom, something exhaled. Not loud, not close, just enough to let me know it had been waiting. And somewhere deep inside the cabinet, I heard the soft mechanical sound of a counter ticking down, like a machine that had more games planned and more coins to collect. I didn't turn around. That's the part people don't get when I try to explain it later. They always ask why I didn't run, why I didn't scream, why I didn't grab a knife or my phone or anything. But fear doesn't always make you act. Sometimes it pins you in place and rewires your priorities. In that moment, all I could think was this: if I turn around, it will know I saw it. So I stood there, facing the cabinet, staring at my own reflection warped in the dark screen, listening to that breathing behind me slowly fade back into nothing. I left the apartment that night. Didn't pack, didn't shower, didn't even put on proper shoes. Just slipped into whatever was by the door and bolted I didn't bother locking up. I couldn't bring myself to look back at the cabinet. I was terrified that if I did, the screen would be on again, showing me leaving, showing me what happened after. The hallway felt wrong, longer than usual. The lights flickered in a pattern I'd never noticed before, like they were lagging behind reality. When the elevator doors opened, I flinched hard enough to almost fall over, half expecting it to be empty on the inside, but somehow still watching me. I went to the nearest place with people, a 24-hour McDonald's off the highway, the kind with sticky floors and a broken ice cream machine sign taped to the wall. I sat in a corner booth with my back against the wall and ordered black coffee I didn't want, just so I'd have something in my hands. Every few minutes, my phone buzzed. No notifications, just vibration. I checked my messages anyway. Nothing new. Group chats were quiet. Instagram stories loading slow. Reddit scrolling like normal. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined everything. The breathing, the knock, the coin. Stress does crazy things to your brain, right? Then my phone screen dimmed on its own. A lock screen notification slid down. No app icon, just text. 1 credit remaining. I dropped the phone. It clattered onto the table, and the guy at the next booth glanced over, annoyed. I muttered an apology, picked it back up. The notification was gone. Battery at 92%. No record of it anywhere. I stayed there until sunrise. When I finally went back to the apartment, the door was closed. Locked. I knew I hadn't locked it. Inside, everything looked exactly the same. No signs of a break-in, no damage, no mess. The cabinet stood where I'd left it, silent and dark, like a piece of expensive furniture. I started laughing, not because it was funny, because it was either that or scream. I paced the apartment, convincing myself I was done with it, that I'd call a junk removal service, or the cops, or maybe just smash it apart. Whatever was inside, it couldn't be real, couldn't be watching me, couldn't be predicting anything. That's when I noticed my laptop was on. The screen showed a video player window. Paused. The timestamp read 117/0400. I didn't hit play. The video started anyway. It was footage from my apartment. Different angle this time. Lower, closer, like it was recorded from behind furniture. The camera followed me as I paced, the movement jittery, not quite human. Every time I passed a mirror or a reflective surface, the camera lagged, then snapped back into place, like it was correcting itself. Text appeared at the top of the video. You left too soon. The footage skipped ahead. Now it showed my apartment empty. Then the front door opened. Something came in. I won't describe it, not because I can't remember, but because language breaks down when you try. It was tall in the wrong places, bent where things shouldn't bend, moving like it was remembering how legs worked in real time. It didn't rush. It explored, touched things, tilted its head at objects like it was cataloging them. It stopped in front of the cabinet. The screen of the cabinet lit up, reflecting its shape back at it. The video froze. My phone rang. This time, it was a real call. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. The voice on the other end was calm, human, almost bored. "Did you enjoy the preview?" it asked. I couldn't speak. "You don't have to worry," the voice continued. "Most players quit after the first session. You're doing great." I demanded to know who they were, what they'd done to me, how they were recording inside my apartment. The voice let me rant, let me scream. When I finally ran out of breath, it said, "You misunderstand. We aren't recording you. The cabinet is." The call ended. The cabinet chimed. A new message scrolled across the screen. Final credit available. Failure to play will result in automatic mode. I unplugged every electronic device I owned, threw the router into the bathtub, smashed my old laptop with a dumbbell until the screen cracked like a spiderweb. None of it mattered. The cabinet didn't flicker, didn't dim, didn't react at all. I sat on the floor across from it, hugging my knees, trying to slow my breathing. The silence stretched so long, my ears rang. Then the screen turned on. This time, it wasn't my apartment. It was a motel room, one of those roadside ones near the airport. I recognized the ugly painting above the bed, the patterned carpet, the flickering AC unit. I'd stayed there once during a layover. The view through the window matched perfectly. On screen, the door to the motel room was open. The timer started again. 0500. Text appeared, one line at a time. "You will go here. You will be alone. You will bring your phone." I whispered, "No." The cabinet responded instantly. "You always do." The screen cut to black. My phone buzzed. A new email. Subject line, "Reservation confirmed, check-in date. Tomorrow." I don't remember booking it, but the confirmation number was already saved in my notes app, typed in my own handwriting, and underneath it, one last line. I don't remember writing at all. If I don't play, it plays me. I didn't pack anything except my charger and a baseball bat, and even that felt like a joke. I didn't bring clothes, didn't bring food, didn't bring my laptop. I wore the same hoodie I'd been sweating through for days and shoved my cracked phone in my pocket. I left the lights on in the apartment. The cabinet sat in the corner like a priest at a deathbed, silent, expectant, patient. I thought about smashing it, not because I thought it would help, but just to hear what it would sound like when it broke. Would it scream? Would it bleed? Would it laugh? In the end, I didn't touch it. The fear was different now. It wasn't a fire. It was a disease. Quiet. Under the skin. The motel wasn't far. 30-minute drive. Tops. I didn't remember booking it, but the front desk clock greeted me like I was a regular. "Room 308, she said, without asking for ID. She slid the key across the counter without blinking. It was an old school key. Metal. Heavy. Cold. The room was exactly as I remembered from the cabinet screen. Peeling wallpaper. Air conditioner breathing in and out like an old man dying in his sleep. There was a Bible on the bedside table that didn't feel like it belonged. Too clean, like it had been placed there minutes before I arrived. I dropped my phone on the bed and turned the bat over in my hands, and then the door closed behind me. I didn't touch it. I spun around and yanked it open again. Nothing in the hallway, just that awful patterned carpet and a vending machine humming too loud at the far end. I checked the lock. It still worked. Deadbolt slid into place. I pushed a chair under the handle anyway and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. The cabinet was right after all. I always do. The first hour passed slow. The TV in the room only had static. Every channel. No volume control. It was either whisper quiet or screaming loud, nothing in between. I unplugged it. At 2:06 a.m., my phone buzzed. One notification, no app listed, just text. "Don't look outside." So of course I did. The window faced the parking lot. I pushed the curtain aside 1 inch, 2. Nothing. Empty lot. A single flickering streetlight. Rain starting to streak down the glass in crooked trails. Then the rain started falling upward. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, watched the droplets reverse, course like tape in rewind, sliding up the pane, defying gravity. I stepped back from the window and drew the curtain shut all the way. My skin felt like it was shrinking, like I was wearing a body that didn't quite fit anymore. Another buzz. 2 minutes left. Left for what? No answer. I tried to call someone. Anyone. My mom. Voicemail. My old roommate. Voicemail. I opened Instagram. My feed was blank. Just my own reflection in the black screen of the camera. And behind me, in the motel mirror, someone was sitting on the bed. I whipped around. Nothing. Bed was empty. Phone still buzzing. Then the TV turned back on by itself. Static. Louder than before. Deafening. I screamed and yanked the plug from the wall again, but the screen stayed lit. This time, the static shifted, shapes moving inside it, like a silhouette pushing through fog. A face, too close to the screen, lips moving, but not making sound. Over and over, I read the lips. You aren't waking up. You aren't waking up. You aren't waking up. I threw the baseball bat at the screen. The screen shattered. Sparks, smoke, and underneath the TV casing, under the plastic and the wires, was meat. Real meat. Something alive, beating, pulsing. The bat sank into it with a wet crunch. I dropped the handle and stepped back, bile rising in my throat. My vision was swimming. The room felt wrong, like the walls were closer than before, like it was shrinking in on me. The mirror cracked, not shattered, not broken, just cracked, slowly, one line at a time, spiderwebbing from the center outward. I saw myself in it, but I wasn't moving. I watched my reflection tilt its head, eyes wide, jaw slack. Then it raised one hand slowly, jerky, frame by frame, and started tracing a word on the inside of the mirror with a fingertip. It wrote, "Final round." Motel phone rang. Rotary. Loud. Sharp. I stared at it. Let it ring 10 times. It stopped. The mirror shattered completely, and behind the glass was the cabinet. Right there, embedded in the wall, like it had been waiting behind the mirror the whole time. The screen turned on. Text loaded, slow like a typewriter. New level. Sacrifice. Start game? Yes/no. I didn't press anything. The cabinet chose for me. I don't know how long the room stayed dark after that. It might have been minutes, might have been days. I woke up in a bathtub full of blood that didn't smell like mine. The faucet was dripping something thick. My phone was in my pocket, buzzing against my thigh like a heartbeat. The screen showed a message. Well played. I climbed out. The room was gone. Not metaphorically. I mean, the room was gone. No walls, no ceiling. Just me standing in the middle of a black void with motel carpet under my feet and the cabinet 5 feet away, screen still glowing. And on that screen was me, holding my phone, looking at the screen. Endless recursion. Every motion I made was played back 1 second later, like I was stuck in my own playback. And then I saw something else in the footage, behind me, moving closer every loop, getting clearer each cycle, reaching, and it's still reaching now, still catching up. Every second brings it closer. It's behind me as I type this. I can't turn around. I won't, but I can hear the cabinet. One last message, right now, on the screen. Winner gets to play again. Insert next player. I don't know where here is. That's the first thing you lose when the cabinet finishes with you. Geography, direction, time. I can feel seconds passing, but they don't stack anymore. They just repeat, fall back on themselves. I'm typing this on my phone, except it's not really my phone anymore. The screen doesn't smudge when I touch it. The battery never drops. Every letter appears a fraction of a second before my thumb finishes moving, like the device already knows what I'm going to say. Like it's letting me say it. The void didn't stay empty. It never does. Carpet beneath my feet began to stretch outward, unraveling like film pulled too hard through a projector. Patterns repeated, looped, glitched. The smell hit next. Old motel detergent, rust, ozone. Something burned and sweet underneath it all. The cabinet hummed louder with every breath I took, not mechanically, but organically, like a throat clearing before speech. The screen flashed, not text this time. A face, not the face. A new one. A woman, maybe late 20s. Mascara smudged. One eyebrow pierced. She was crying silently, mouth open, eyes darting like she was reading something off-screen. The angle was familiar. Webcam height. Bedroom lighting. I recognized the posture instantly. She was recording. Her lips formed words I couldn't hear, but I knew the cadence, the hesitation, the way people lean towards the camera when they're confessing something they haven't told anyone yet. The cabinet overlaid text across her face. Current player. The image split. Dozens more windows appeared. Different people, different rooms, same fear, same posture, same moment. That exact second where denial collapses and something else steps in. I understood then. This wasn't predicting the future. It was editing it, choosing which version of you gets to keep going. The cabinet chimed again, softer now, almost affectionate. You may leave a message. A cursor blinked. I started typing without thinking. Not a warning, not a confession. Instructions. I told you about the emulator because that's how it wants to be found. I told you about the coin because that's how it learns you'll touch it. I told you about the motel because the cabinet doesn't move forward unless you believe it's inevitable. I didn't realize I was being trained until I was done. When I finished typing, the cabinet paused, processing. Then, message approved. The void peeled away. I was back in my apartment. Same couch, same cabinet, same corner stain on the ceiling. Morning light leaking through the blinds like nothing had happened. My phone buzzed with normal notifications. Spam email, weather alert, a missed call from work. I checked the date, 3 months earlier. Before everything, the cabinet was dark, silent, unplugged. I screamed. Nothing answered. I smashed it with the bat until my arms gave out. Metal dented, screen cracked, but beneath it, there was no meat this time, no blood, just layers of circuitry I didn't recognize. Smooth, grown rather than built. I dragged it into my car, drove for hours, dumped it in a construction site, and buried it under rubble. And for a while, weeks, maybe, nothing happened. I almost believed I'd won. Then the post went up. A new thread, buried deep. Username already deleted. 4 words. Try cabinet.exe for profit. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. My phone buzzed. Unknown DM. Thank you for playing. That's when I understood the last rule. The cabinet doesn't haunt you forever. It replaces you. Someone out there is reading this late at night. Tired, curious, laughing a little, thinking this is a good story, thinking they'd never be stupid enough to touch something like that. That's fine. The cabinet doesn't need everyone. Just one more player, and I can already hear the coin dropping. So yeah, I bought an arcade machine off the dark web. It didn't come with instructions, just a coin slot, a screen that knew too much, and a game that didn't play. You did. every round showed me something worse, something true. And every time I thought I'd escaped, it rewrote the next move, like I never had a choice. The cabinet didn't kill me. It didn't have to. It made me part of it. And now it's waiting again. For you. Because the screen is always dark until someone touches the coin. Me and my friend were a top managing position for an evil elite party in Hollywood. We ordered private security from the dark web, and now we regret it. I've started this recording like 4 times now, deleted each one. I don't know what I'm expecting, maybe just to feel ready to talk about it. I'm not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's 2:46 a.m. here, the kind of hour where even the city noise has died down. No horns, no sirens, just the hum of my fridge and the occasional pop of the baseboards like the walls are breathing. I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night this week. Not since that night. I've been chain smoking in the kitchen, pacing like a damn ghost. My phone keeps lighting up with news alerts I don't even open anymore. And the worst part is, I keep hearing that click, that little chirp from a radio, like a walkie-talkie, cutting in for half a second and going quiet. I don't have a walkie-talkie. I know how that sounds. I'd think I was cracking too, if I didn't have texts, photos, a shared note between me and Ryan that he hasn't touched in 3 days, which is terrifying because that guy lives on his phone. So yeah, if you're hearing this, it's not for fun. I'm not trying to go viral. I just want something out there. Because maybe they're watching already. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But in case I disappear, or if Ryan does, I want someone to know what we got involved in. It wasn't just some edgy party in the hills. This was real. Deep web, real. And we knew better. We knew better. Alright, backing up. You ever scroll through Instagram and see someone post a selfie with a massive private pool behind them, 10 bottles of Crystal floating in one of those plastic rafts, and they tag it like Casual Friday, LOL. That was Ryan's life. And through him, mine too. We weren't celebrities exactly, not actors or singers, but we worked with them. Big money clients, studio ties, connections most people would kill for. Me and Ryan were operations directors for this exclusive events company in LA, like NDA on entry, cell phones sealed in a bag type gigs. No names, no leaks. You got in if you were someone. And if you were nobody, you got in if someone was using you. Think less Coachella, more Eyes Wide Shut meets Silicon Valley money. We had billionaires flying in just to be seen leaving. That kind of vibe. And we made it work. We ran it. Logistics, scheduling, supplier coordination, security, you name it. Ryan handled talent and guest flow. I dealt with venues, permits, and keeping cops blind. This wasn't the kind of job you found on Indeed. We got pulled into it through one of Ryan's hookups, this woman named Evie. Real glamazon type, ran a PR firm that didn't exist on paper. She saw us working VIP coordination at a Netflix premiere and said we had the energy. Next thing you know, we signing documents with invisible ink and flying to Zurich for orientation. Anyway, one of the events we got tapped to manage was something different. It didn't even have a code name, just a string of numbers, like a federal case file. 4407-X. Evie was different about this one. No makeup, no heels, no wine breath. She sat us down in a WeWork in Beverly Hills, locked the door behind her, and said, "You'll do everything you're told. You'll say nothing, and you'll ensure that no one gets in who isn't cleared, not even if they look like the president. Understood? We both said yes, because you don't say no to Evie. So fast forward. The venue was this estate way out near Hidden Hills, like off the actual grid. Not Calabasas gated community. I'm talking unmarked private road with infrared fences and a drone port. I had to submit facial scans to even get the address. And the guest list? We didn't get it. That was our first red flag. We always got guest lists. Always. Even when they used fake names, burner emails, we had to know head count, dietary needs, allergies, medical conditions. That's just basic liability. But this one, nothing. Just a number. 42 people. What we did get was a request. Secure private detail. Dark web procurement allowed. High trust, non-affiliated contractors only. Now that right there, that sentence, it should have been enough to walk. But it wasn't our first time sourcing through unofficial channels. You'd be surprised how many A-listers prefer mercs with burner phones over legit bodyguards, especially when certain substances or activities are involved. So we reached out to this guy Ryan had used once before, back when a Russian oligarch wanted presence at a desert rave without inviting press. Guy's handle was Kilo Rem. We knew nothing about him except that he delivered, no questions asked, and his reviews were clean on the right forums. We didn't go through Tor. He had a surface web gateway that rerouted into a darknet mirror, password only, totally untraceable. We submitted a request, 8 personnel, tier 3 clearance, non-verbal, heavy presence, low visibility. His reply came 2 minutes later. Just said, confirmed, drop in 5 days, leave access kit in secure point. You'll know when. No quote, no contract, just confirmed. And that was the beginning of it. It started with the box. 3 days before the event, I came home from a prep meeting at the property. It was past midnight. My apartment was dark, silent, windows open to let in the breeze, since the AC was broken again. I was exhausted, dehydrated, phone dead. I'd barely kicked off my shoes when I noticed it. Right there in the middle of the living room rug. A matte black case. No label. No lock. Just sitting there, like it had been placed intentionally, perfectly scented. I didn't panic. Not yet. I assumed Ryan dropped it off. We were both coordinating separately, and sometimes did weird handoffs like that to avoid online communication. So I opened it. It wasn't full of gear like I expected. No radios, no headsets. Just one thing. A folded note. You are already being watched. Assume total surveillance. Entry begins Thursday, 2300. Be ready. You are responsible for what follows. Underneath it was a phone. Burner model, brand new, unmarked. I picked it up. It buzzed the second my finger touched the screen. No ringtone, just vibration and a message. Do not tell Ryan. And that was it. I put the phone back in the box and just stood there for a while, not even breathing. That message, it wasn't threatening exactly, but something about it felt wrong, like it was speaking to a part of my brain that hadn't woken up since childhood. That gut feeling, dream horror type of wrong. The kind that doesn't make sense and doesn't need to. I didn't tell Ryan. I don't know why. I just didn't. When the security arrived, they didn't come in vans. They didn't roll up in suits or tactical gear. They walked out of the woods. At 11:02 p.m. sharp, Thursday night, the security cameras picked up 8 figures emerging from the tree line behind the estate. They moved with the same cadence. Same posture, same rhythm, almost mechanical. Ryan was the one monitoring cams. He radioed me. I think we have a situation. I asked what kind of situation. Our security team just walked out of a goddamn forest like the cast of Chernobyl. I met them at the back gate. They weren't wearing anything tactical. No name tags, no branding. Just black denim, boots, close-shaved heads. Male, female, I couldn't even tell. Every single one of them was wearing the same mirrored visor mask. No eyes, no voice. They didn't speak, but they listened. That was the worst part. I gave a test order, just to see. Perimeter sweep, no interior access. All 8 moved instantly. No nod, no acknowledgement. Just turned and began moving, like they were already programmed. The night of the party, the clients arrived in waves. No limos, no flashy cars. Mostly matte SUVs, unmarked sedans. Everyone came alone, even the ones I recognized. Big names, names that would make your jaw hit the floor. They came in without their usual entourage, without publicists, stylists, security. One guy, who starred in like 8 different Marvel projects, walked in wearing a hoodie and slippers, said nothing, just scanned his invite, turned in his phone, and vanished inside. The building itself had been staged perfectly. Evie's people had spent 3 weeks transforming it. The ballroom ceiling had been replaced with projection domes, giant spherical lenses that refracted light patterns into spirals and grids. The windows were one-way mirrors. The bar served no alcohol, just enhancements, little vials of clear liquid that each guest took like communion shots. No questions. They wanted it. They asked for it. One woman, a former supermodel turned wellness guru, drank 3 and started humming like a refrigerator. Never broke eye contact with me the whole time. Just stood there, humming, eyes locked on mine, smiling like she'd forgotten what the word human meant. By midnight, the doors were locked. Not metaphorically, physically. Ryan came up to me near the stairs, pale as death. They're not letting anyone leave. I asked who. He just tilted his head toward the security guys, still silent, still in formation, still watching every guest. I tried opening the gate. One of them was already there, like he knew. He just turned his head, and I swear to God, dude, he was smiling under the mask. From there, it got worse. The party never started. No DJ, no dancing, no performance. Just guests wandering, sitting, watching the projections above, like they were in a trance. And then the screens changed. 1:17 a.m. Every dome, every mirrored lens, black, then static, then images, not footage, not CGI, surveillance, real time, us, me, Ryan, the catering staff, shots of us prepping the house, unloading trucks, walking alone. One clip showed Ryan in his car singing along to music. That morning, the guests watched without reacting, like it was all part of the show. Ryan pulled me aside, whispering fast, "We've been compromised. All of this is fucked. We need to go." I told him we couldn't. Doors were sealed, phones gone, backup radios jammed, and the security guys, they'd vanished. No patrols, no sightings, no radio contact. Every camera showed static, or something else. Not noise, not snow, just shapes, squirming in the distortion, like something behind the screen was trying to come through. Then the lights cut. Total blackout. Screams. No. Silence. Utter, perfect, choking silence. Not even breathing. Not even footsteps. And then that click. That walkie-talkie click. One chirp. I turned around, and Ryan was gone. Not left. Gone. like the space where he stood didn't remember ever holding a person. I started running. I don't know how I found the corridor. The house didn't feel like a house anymore. It felt shifted, too long, too cold. No more walls, just partitions of black glass and backlit fog. Every room I passed had someone sitting inside, just sitting, perfectly still, some naked, some in outfits I didn't remember them arriving in, some with something sitting behind them, watching. And then I found the basement door. It was open. Inside was red light, not glowing, pulsing, like a heartbeat. I went down, and I saw the real reason we were there. I'm not going to describe what was under that house. Not yet. Not here. You're not ready. But it wasn't a party, and we weren't event planners. We were bait. And Ryan, he was the first one they took. I haven't seen him since that night, but his Apple ID still shows him as online. His AirPods have been pinging all over LA, always near power stations, server farms, weird industrial parks with blacked out Google Maps images. His name shows up on call logs I didn't make. I have voicemails that are nothing but breathing. And last night, I saw his face. On one of them, the mask was cracked, and underneath wasn't Ryan, but it was wearing his smile. We opened the wrong door, and something walked out. I didn't leave the house that night the normal way. I didn't walk out through a door, or sneak past security, or find some hidden tunnel. Like this was a movie. I left because whatever was running the place lost interest in me for a moment. Like a predator distracted by a louder scream somewhere else. I remember standing in a service hallway, bare concrete, pipes sweating overhead, staring at an exit sign that was flickering like it couldn't decide whether it was real. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even feel my fingers. Somewhere deep in the estate, something made a sound that reminded me of applause, except slower, wet, patient. The burner phone in my pocket vibrated. No notification sound, just that dull, intimate buzz against my thigh. A single message. You're still useful. Do not waste that. The exit sign went solid green. I didn't run. I walked. Because something inside me understood that running was what prey did, and I didn't want to be prey anymore. I pushed the door open and stepped out into cold night air, expecting alarms, shouting, gunfire. Anything. Nothing. The estate behind me looked normal again. Quiet. Dark. Expensive. Like a place where rich people drink wine and talk about crypto and art deals. No lights. No movement. No sign that 42 people were sealed inside with something that wasn't done with them yet. I walked down the road until my legs gave out and sat on the asphalt, hugging my knees, laughing like an idiot because I was alive and I didn't know why. The next morning, the internet said nothing happened. No missing persons reports, no ambulances, no helicopters, no TMZ vans sniffing around the property. Just a single bland real estate update announcing that the estate had been sold quietly to an offshore holding company. I called Evie, straight to voicemail. Her Instagram was gone. Her LinkedIn redirected to a blank page. Her PR firm's website showed a parked domain with a stock photo of a smiling family. Ryan's number rang once and disconnected. I went home, showered for almost an hour, and watched the water swirl down the drain like it might take the memory with it. It didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those guests sitting still, faces slack, watching themselves on the screens like they were already dead, and this was the highlight reel. I slept for 11 hours straight. When I woke up, my phone was full of notifications, not from people, from systems. My email, personal, encrypted, not used for work, had a new folder. It was titled Access. Inside were documents, blueprints, schedules, names, not celebrity names, functions, titles, roles, things like Observer, West Coast Asset Conditioning, Acquisition Liaison, Cultural Dampening. I scrolled until my vision blurred. At the bottom of the folder was a single PDF. My name on the cover, my real name, not a nickname, not an alias, the one on my birth certificate. The first page was a psychological profile, childhood trauma, stress thresholds, moral elasticity, a section labeled breakpoints with timestamps next to events from my life that I had never told anyone about. There was a progress bar at the top. Status, 63% integrated. I didn't go to the police. Don't laugh. I thought about it. I even drove to a station, sat in the parking lot with my engine running, watching people go in to report stolen bikes and domestic disputes and noise complaints. And I realized something chillingly simple. What would I even say? Hi, I helped manage an invite-only event for ultra-wealthy elites where private security sourced from the dark web sealed everyone inside a mansion and possibly fed them to something underneath the house. And now, an invisible organization is emailing me classified documents about cultural manipulation. They wouldn't arrest them. They'd lock me in a room and call a psych evol. And whoever sent those messages knew that. The next contact came 3 days later. Not a message, not a call, a job offer. It came through a recruiter email, the kind you get all the time in LA. Polite, vague, insanely high salary. Discretion required. The company name was different, but the language felt familiar in my bones, like hearing a voice you had only ever heard in nightmares. I ignored it. An hour later, my bank app sent a notification. A deposit. More money than I had ever seen in my life, sitting there casually like a tip. Memo field. Retention bonus. I threw up in my kitchen sink. Here's the part that still makes my skin crawl when I think about it. They never threatened me. Not once. No, do this or else. No pictures of loved ones. No countdown timers. No violence directed at me. They didn't need to. Because once you see how the world actually runs, once you understand how many people at the top aren't human in the way you and I mean it, you don't need threats. You just need context. They showed me things. News cycles manipulated down to the minute. Trends engineered weeks in advance. Viral scandals that were planned, not exposed. Entire social movements steered by 3 people in a room deciding which emotions were getting turned up that month. And security. God, the security. The same silent figures, different cities, different countries. Always there at the edges of footage, standing behind politicians, reflected in glass behind celebrities, walking through crowds at airports like sharks through schools of fish. Once you know how to look, you can't unsee them. They aren't guarding people, they're guarding processes. I finally replied to the recruiter email. I asked one question. What happened to Ryan? The response came instantly. Ryan was a successful acquisition. You should be proud. Attached was a photo, a mirror selfie, a man in a black visor mask, cracked down the middle. Skin beneath it stretched too tight, like it didn't belong on the skull it was covering. The smile was wrong, too symmetrical, too deliberate. Behind him, reflected in the glass, was a room full of servers, and standing between 2 racks, staring directly into the camera, was me. I don't remember taking that photo, but the timestamp said it was taken tomorrow. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I feel like something is measuring me, adjusting me, preparing me for a role I never auditioned for. I think that's the worst part. They don't abduct people anymore. They promote them. And I'm running out of time before my progress bar hits 100%. All because they want you to know what's coming next. I stopped trying to escape when I realized the city itself was cooperating. That sounds insane, I know. But once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. The way doors stay locked a half second too long, how Ubers cancel in waves, how elevators pause between floors like they're waiting for permission. It wasn't that they were actively hunting me. It was worse. They were routing me. I tried to leave LA the normal way first. Packed a backpack, left my phone at home, paid cash for a cab at a gas station on Sunset. I told the driver, LAX. He nodded, pulled out, drove exactly 3 blocks. Then the freeway sign lit up with a digital alert. Temporary closure, security incident. Every route, every ramp, red. The driver didn't react, didn't even blink, just turned the wheel and said, flat and calm, "Where else you headed?" I asked him if he'd heard what happened. He smiled in the rearview mirror. Too long. They said, "It's under control." I got out at the next light and walked until my feet bled through my shoes. The burner phone came back to life that night. No vibration this time. No warning. Just on. A video started playing automatically. It was Ryan, or something wearing Ryan's face, like a costume that hadn't been broken in yet. He was sitting upright in a chair, hands folded, posture perfect. Behind him was a white room. No corners, no seams, no visible light source. His eyes tracked the camera too smoothly, like they were mounted on gimbals. "Hey," he said, voice warm, familiar, wrong. "You're doing great," I screamed. I didn't mean to. It just tore out of me, raw and animal, and echoed through my apartment like something dying. Ryan, or the thing, tilted his head. "That reaction means you still think of me as separate from them," he said. "That's good. It means you're still early." The video cut to black. Then text appeared. In-person orientation. Required location. Below a map pin dropped. Not an address, just coordinates. I knew that place. Everyone in LA does, whether they admit it or not. It was beneath a cultural landmark. One of those places you've seen 1,000 times in movies, lit up at night, crowds posing for photos, street performers in cheap costumes, sweating under fake smiles. The kind of place where the surface is loud and alive, and nobody ever wonders what's underneath. There was a maintenance door behind a staff-only sign. It opened when I touched it. No keycard, no code. It recognized me. Down there, the air felt old, not dusty, used, like it had been breathed too many times by things that didn't need oxygen anymore. Corridor walls weren't concrete. They looked organic, smooth, pale, faintly translucent. Veins pulsed just beneath the surface, slow and deliberate, like the building itself had a heartbeat. I followed the path because there was nowhere else to go. At the end was a room filled with people. Some I recognized, studio heads, politicians, tech founders, faces I'd seen on billboards, magazine covers, apology videos. They stood in small groups, murmuring politely, sipping water from identical clear cups. None of them looked scared. That terrified me more than anything. One woman turned when I entered and smiled like we were at a networking mixer. "Welcome," she said. "You're late." Before I could speak, the lights dimmed. The floor opened, not split, retracted. like a mouth unhinging. Below us was the thing I'd only glimpsed under the estate, the thing I tried not to remember. It wasn't a monster. That's the lie people cling to, because monsters can be fought. This was a system, a mass of interlocking structures, flesh, metal, something else entirely, spanning a cavern so large I couldn't see the edges. Cables ran into it like veins. Screens were embedded in its surface, each showing live feeds from around the world. Protests, wars, award shows, bedrooms, boardrooms, and faces. God, the faces. People suspended inside it, not screaming, not dead, processing. Their expressions were frozen in moments of extreme emotion, fear, ecstasy, despair, devotion, like emotions with a fuel, and they'd been tapped at peak output. A voice filled the room, not from speakers, from everywhere. You have benefited from us, it said. Now you will understand us. They explained it to me, like I was a colleague. Humanity, they said, had outgrown chaos. Randomness was inefficient. Emotion needed direction. Culture needed pruning. And the best controllers weren't governments or armies, but aspirations. Hollywood, media, influence. That was the party. That was the security. That was Ryan. They don't kill people. They repurpose them. Some become observers. Some become processors. Some become interfaces. Faces that can still walk around, still smile, still sell you the lie. And some become managers. That's what they wanted me for. They'll ask me to step forward. I didn't want to. My legs moved anyway. A section of the structure peeled open, wet and slow, revealing a cavity shaped exactly like a human body. I felt something press against the back of my skull. Not physically, like a finger touching a memory. Suddenly I knew things. Why certain scandals broke when they did. Why certain celebrities vanished quietly. Why every few years there's a cultural shift everyone pretends is organic. I saw Ryan's integration, not as torture, but as refinement. His personality stripped down to useful components, his empathy inverted, his loyalty recoded. I understood, in a sick, intimate way, how good it felt to stop resisting. The progress bar filled in my mind. 92%, I laughed. I couldn't help it. Because the most psychotic part, I didn't want to stop them. I wanted to be good at it. I don't know how long I was there. Time didn't behave normally underground. Eventually, they let me leave. Not because I was free, because I was almost ready. Now, when I walk through the city, people move around me differently. Conversations stop when I get close. Security cameras tilt, just a little, to keep me centered. And sometimes, when I catch my reflection in dark glass, I see the faint outline of a visor where my face should be. If there's a part 5, it won't be a warning. It'll be a handoff, because they don't need everyone. They just need enough. And once you've been seen by the system, it never unsees you. The day I stopped feeling afraid was the day I understood I was never meant to survive this as a person. Fear is a human luxury. It's what keeps you small, cautious, tethered to ideas like morality and consequence. Once that was stripped away, everything sharpened. Colors felt cleaner. Sounds felt intentional. Even pain, when it came, had a purpose, like feedback from a machine learning model tuning itself. They didn't take me back underground for the final phase. They brought the underground to me. It started subtle. Always does. A woman collapsed in a Starbucks 2 tables away from me, screaming about voices in the foam of her latte. Nobody moved. Not because they didn't care, because they didn't register it. I watched 3 people film her, 2 people step over her, and one barista calmly place a temporarily closed sign on the register while the woman convulsed on the tile. The footage never trended. Later that night, a news alert popped up. Viral prank causes brief coffee shop panic. I smiled, not because it was funny, because I recognized the edit style. They began giving me assignments disguised as coincidences. I'd think about an actor I used to work with, washed up, volatile, prone to accidents, and 2 days later, a scandal would break. I'd walk past a protest and feel a pressure behind my eyes, a suggestion, and the chant would change rhythm, tone, intent. It felt like nudging dominoes. I wasn't pushing them, I was aligning them. The burner phone stopped being necessary. Instructions arrived as impulses. Decisions formed fully baked in my mind, complete with rationalizations that felt comforting and obvious. I stopped writing things down. I stopped needing proof. Ryan visited me one last time. Not physically. He appeared in a reflection, an elevator mirror in a downtown high-rise I'd been cleared to access without credentials. The door was closed, and there he was behind me. No visor this time. His face had settled. That wrongness smoothed out into something almost serene, like he'd finally stopped fighting gravity. "You're doing better than I did," he said. I asked him if there was anything left of him inside. He thought for a moment. "That question doesn't matter anymore," he replied. "You'll understand soon." The elevator never moved. When the doors opened, I was alone. The final integration wasn't violent. That's the part nobody would believe. No restraints, no screaming, no invasive machinery tearing into flesh. Just a room, white, warm, smelling faintly of ozone and copper. A chair shaped exactly to my spine. They didn't ask for consent. They asked for participation. I sat. Structure unfolded around me, not enclosing, not consuming, overlaying. Layer after layer of data, memory, signal, and intent braided itself through my nervous system. I felt myself being mapped. Every desire I'd ever had, status, control, validation, safety, tagged and indexed. Not judged, just used. They didn't erase me. They optimized me. I saw the system from inside for the first time, and it was elegant. Humanity as a network of inputs and outputs, trauma as leverage, hope as bait, outrage as fuel. Every cultural spike carefully engineered to keep the machine fed, stable, growing. The elites weren't in charge. They were interfaces, just like I was becoming. When it was over, I stood up without being told. The room dissolved. The city reassembled itself around me. I walked outside, and the air felt calibrated to my lungs. People glanced at me and looked away, instincts firing without context. A billboard changed content mid-scroll as I passed, swapping one face for another that would test better with the demographic currently driving by. I checked the progress bar out of habit. It was gone. I didn't need it anymore. So why am I telling you this? Because this is my last unfiltered act. Once this is posted, it will be categorized, diluted, labeled fiction, buried under reaction videos and think pieces and algorithmic deprioritization. It will feel like entertainment, like a creepypasta you half believe and half forget. That's intentional. But a few of you, just a statistically insignificant number, will feel something reading this. A pressure, a familiarity, a sense that parts of this align a little too well with patterns you've noticed but never articulated. Those are the ones we watch. Those are the ones we recruit, not with threats, not with force, with opportunity. I don't regret ordering that security team. I regret thinking I was the client. The truth is simpler and much worse. That party never ended, the house never closed, and the system never stopped expanding. Hollywood was just one access point. You're already inside the perimeter. And if this story made you feel cold, if you checked your reflection while reading, if you wondered, even for a second, whether someone was watching you, think, then congratulations. You heard the signal, and somewhere very quiet, very deep, something just turned its head towards you.